This is quite a shocking episode, to be honest. Water Island is a lot of things to a lot of different people. Many of its aspects appeal to different groups, and the overall structure and style is often debated on since it's easy to see it in many different ways. Judging this island earnestly was honestly very difficult since it's so easy to get biased with this one, but I'm fairly sure we were able to pull together a decent list of goods and bads. Alright, so Water Island has a lot to talk about, and so much so in fact that we needed to extend both top and bottom into a 5 placement rather than the standard 3. You'll see why soon. We technically didn't need to do this, but I just wanted to make sure we covered as much as possible since this one is a real doozy. Alright, so number 5 on the worst is debatably the worst seasonal Blabbit. It only plays twice in the song, and while I really admire the idea behind it, and give them credit for trying to make it work, it sadly doesn't. At the beginning, it tugs away attention from a much better track, and the next time it just adds to the cacophony of different sounds. This isn't the worst thing ever, but it's just the song would probably be better without it. Number 4, and we're getting into the real killers of this song. Individually, the weirdos on Water aren't that bad. They each have their own strengths and issues that limit them, but they aren't detrimental to the song by being added, which is a good start. The issue is that they're a couple cents out of key with each other, which makes their harmonizing absolutely atrociously painful to listen to. Not only that, but they don't really add anything to the song by being there, since unlike mostly every other weirdo, they don't change the structure or anything. This means they're just dropped into already established verses and wrangles the attention away from everything else. This time around, their conceptual composition isn't really that awful, but the execution of the track is just a really big miss. Alright, number 3 is going to be like the biggest hot take in the history of YSM. Third worst monster on this island is the quad itself, Shellbeat. Hear me out, cause this is gonna need a lot of explaining. So, first off, I love Shellbeat as a monster, and without this island, we wouldn't have continent or caves Shellbeat, so I'm perfectly okay with taking this necessary evil. The issue with Shellbeat isn't the track itself, but more so the island the track needs to be implemented in. Water Island up until you get Shellbeat has barely any percussion at all, with the most audible one being flippin' scups. This lends to the island having this super relaxed and ambient vibe that is beautiful in its own right. In its purest form without Shellbeat, this island is a super chill song, and it works really well. But Shellbeat completely changes all of that. It feels like you're doing a complete big 1,000 piece puzzle, and then Shellbeat is just this big like quarter of the full size piece that has a completely different image than the rest. Again, the monster itself is great, and I love it, and I know a lot of people who also love it, but it's just the fact that they added it into this song that really stings. The worst part is that there's no reason for it to be this way. Since Shellbeat was a quad, this instrument could have easily been literally anything, so why would they choose a full drum kit when that goes against what was set up? Second worst is way less controversial, since once more it's the ever-present dipsters. If you somehow haven't guessed by this point, I really do not like the dipsters. These ones share the exact same issue with pretty much every other dipster on every other island. They cover up melodies like on Plant, they have nonsensical compositions like on Haven, they even don't play with anyone else like on Cold. My least favorite part about YSM as a whole is the fact that I've had to listen to and focus on these flippin' creatures more times than I've ever wanted to in a lifetime. I don't know if the MSM team ever watches these videos, and if they do, I doubt even more that they care at all what I have to say, but on the slim chance they ever do, I really want to see dipsters pull through if they ever appear on the other islands. I don't want to hate dipsters anymore. I want to see them on an island and be pleasantly surprised at what they do. I want to be excited to see these things on islands instead of dreading the fact that they may be on another island. Hey, remember what I said about Shellbeat? Hearing that, could you ever guess what number 1 is going to be? Because if you can't, then you must not be paying attention. Number 1 is obviously Wellbox, who is just unforgivable on this island. Nothing about this track is good. It's so basic and bare bones, yet it deafens the song whenever it plays. The consequence of having an ambient piece is that any loud instrument is just going to dwarf everything else, and Wellbox is way louder than loud. If you've noticed, the bottom 5 all have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they all play at one part in the song. That verse, where all 5 of the bottom 5 play, is what we strongly consider to be the single worst verse in the entire game. There's not a single verse where these bottom 5 don't play, but that's a bit of a mute sentiment, as you'll see later, since one of these 5 has a bit of a redemption arc. Still though, Wellbox is a piece of trash. Dishonorable mentions include the following monsters. Tweedle and Toejammer sound perfectly fine on their own, but when paired together they show a lot of weaknesses and overall don't sound very good. Shrub is so nothing that I genuinely have no idea what it even does, which is more dishonorable than just being bad. Quibble is wasted on this island, and I'm disappointed they didn't do more with the instrument the monster has. Its contribution isn't bad, it's just that I wish it wasn't so minimal. Dandidoo, Pummel, and Rare Wellbox don't really do the ending justice in ways that they realistically should. It's not necessarily bad by most standards, but I thought I'd at least mention it. Alright, so Water Island has a lot of shortcomings that render it kind of hard to listen to, but there's also a top 5, so clearly there's also some really good things about this island, right? Well, why don't we take a look at these top 5 great tracks and see what's in store for us. Number 5 is Geode, the ethereal of the island. This track sounds really nice on its own and I really like it, while in the song it's a mixed bag. It sounds really good at parts, while at other parts it probably could have just sat out. Overall though, the melody is very pleasant and the sound font complements the fact very well, since it is also a very soothing and nice thing to listen to. If only the composer app did it justice. Coming in at number 4 is the legend itself, Octopus. It's us. Obviously Octopus was going to land some spot in the top monsters. This track is really good at setting up Water's inherent blissful feeling, being a carefree and floaty melody that flows very naturally along with the other monsters that play with it. Unfortunately, in the current version, it kind of gets drowned out by the likes of Dipsters and Blabbit, which just adds to the list of islands where Octopus is amazing, but you can never really focus on it. At number 3, we have Flog. Okay. I mean, it's a really good track that's very serviceable in the song. It doesn't get covered up by anything and sounds good every time it plays, so I guess it makes sense to be above the other 2, but really? Whatever, I guess we're doing this. So Flog is a really good transitional track, and this feels like a natural evolution of what it did on Plant Island, fitting an almost identical role. One thing I need to mention about Flog is the original Water Island remix way back when, where they gave it an echoed solo that was somehow one of the best and most hilarious things MSM has ever done. Okay, let's get back on track. Number 2 is the castle base. What? Well, yeah, okay, I'm fine with this, because castle base on this island is really, really good. It fits the theme of the song really well, while also pairing well with the other monsters, giving them a better spotlight by strengthening their melodies on with its own. It does everything a bass should do and then some, which, when compared to the other natural islands, is above and beyond for such a forgotten element of the song's composition. The reason they did so well with this track is probably related to the actual theme of the song, since mellow ambient pieces work better with a really strong bass line. So I'm glad they didn't hold back for this one. Okay, so we got one more monster left, and hopefully it's a really good one. The monster, the best monster on Water Island is... Okay, guys, I can't keep this charade going on any longer. We deliberated about this for a while, and after each concession, we could never decide what the best track on this island really was. So much so that the best monster on this island is, well, nothing. There is absolutely nothing on this island that can be considered above and beyond. A supreme standout amongst the crowd that makes the island worth the price of admission alone. Nothing on this island really wowed us, and nothing on this island left an impact on us. This is a first for YSM, and it leaves me in a really awkward state, since if there's nothing standout and amazing about an island, what does that say about the song? Well, you'll see soon enough. Honorable mentions include the following monsters. There's a quartet of monsters that play near the climax of the song, those being Sponge, Cybop, Potbelly, and Reedling. This quartet sounds really good together, so they all collectively get an honorable mention. In the last verse, there's a trio that plays, consisting of Shellbeat, Scuffs, and the castle bass. These three sounds really are good as an outro, and collectively get another honorable mention. And yes, this means Shellbeat is both a bottom 5 and an honorable mention. Alright, well, Water Island. A really interesting case because of just how little there is to really talk about. With all its ups and downs combined, the end product is certainly something, but it's really not something I want to listen to. I know a long time ago I said nothing ever gets worse than Cold Island, but honestly, I'm just as shocked as you to say that I've been proven wrong. Water Island is probably one of, if not the worst songs in the entire game, simply because there's nothing of value in it. Listening to this song gives you no really high goods or anything of substance, and it gives you insanely bad, soul crushingly awful downs. It's a really nothing island, and if you like it, good for you. But there's nothing of substantial quality for me to try to discuss. Water Island is kind of the antithesis to YSM, since discussing it the way we usually do is really difficult, making this episode kind of really difficult and all over the place. Hopefully we never have to put any island in this situation in the future, as I don't like not talking about the island. I should probably say that if you turn your brain off and just kind of have it in the background, it can be good to listen to, but that really doesn't say a lot for the song. So, I don't think I need to say this, but I will just in case. Light Island is obviously not going to be discussed until all the monsters are out and we've had enough time to properly judge the song as a whole. So do not vote for it. Also, because people are starting to forget, I'll restate that Continent is still not a valid voting option and will also be ignored since that's being reserved for a special episode. I plan on doing a special for Halloween, and it's one that I don't think anyone will see coming. So look forward to that. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video. Okie dokie, so here's the scoop. Like I said earlier, water is finally going to be the new bottom. It is shocking how much we realize this song does not hold up to the tests of time. Here's how I see it. Cold may be a really not good song, but at least there's things to talk about. It has at least talker. It has these things that make it fun. It has bad things, sure. It has really bad things, like soul-crushing, island-ruining bad things. But at least we can talk about those bad things. What does water have? It has Octopus, which, when you compare it to every other Octopus we've done so far, is, like, not that good. It's got Shellbeat. People like Shellbeat. It's not that great in the song, but people like it. The Weirdos aren't the worst, but they're not good. I think water is worse than cold simply because it's really a nothing song. It's got literally nothing that grabs you in any way. And in my eyes, that's the worst thing a song can be.